Good evening, Key Biscayne. This is the No One's Listening show on March 30th, 2016. I'll be Gman, your host, subbing in for Rafa, who's off in the Big Easy with another panel member, Anna, this weekend. How long are they gone for?
I have no idea. I think it's the weekend, I believe. They did drive out there, so it's going to be a long trip.
That's a 17-hour drive.
Something like that.
Wow. All right. Well, today on the panel...
In our day, they'd call that about a 5-dube drive.
Yeah. Explain further, please.
Well, White Cross, I think.
Hold on, before we get into it, let's...
Or if Professor Yelly helped you, it was crystal meth pure.
Meth pure. Sure.
All right. Just like Rafa would do, I'm going to introduce the panel, but this time I'm going to go to the right.
Nice.
Today we have, to my right, Griff.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Key Biscayne.
And then to his right, the acclaimed comedic duo, Mark and Mark.
Hey!
Mark Freed.
Good
and Mark
evening.
Haley.
Pleasure to be back after a few months.
Yeah, it's good to have you guys.
Yeah, it's good to have you guys.
It's a good change up from last week's show, which I opted out of. It was...
Yeah, last week's show was a little rough.
Yeah. Tell us about it.
Who is the young lady on last week's show?
Well, there was Glenn and his girlfriend, Ariana. So maybe that's the...
There's one woman who's been on here and has a wonderful radio voice.
That's Anna. That's definitely Anna.
And adds a lot. I enjoy her.
Yeah,
Anna's great.
She's in New Orleans right now with Rafa. All right. So let's just put the trivia out there right now, unless you guys have something better than I do. It is, what are the 5 S's of key rat lobstering?
Ooh.
You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't.
Good.
I defended a couple of Yaleys in criminal court on that one.
Spill the beans on this? Because I've actually
Hold it in, I know.
there's at least 7 or 8.
Right. The core 5, I have them written down right here. They don't have to be necessarily in that order.
What number do they have to call?
The number today is 305-321-9571. That's 305-321-9571.
Does that translate to Key Rat Radio?
No.
Usually it's Rafa's number.
Yeah, usually.
Today I'm taking that home, so it's going to be 305.
With the bugging, it used to be, what were the S's that all were illegal?
That's correct.
What were the breaches of the law?
That's a good clue, Mark. That's what I was driving towards.
That's correct. And I would like to... Mark E. Freed, attorney at law, will defend you if you break the 5 S's, which he has done in my case.
All 5?
No, actually, he threw me to the sharks, but that's
tall order. I think it guarantees 3 S's max.
Over 3 S's, he says, you know what? Screw you. But anyway.
Well, it's fun in the air. What are the 5 S's of key rat lobstering? Call in 305-321-9571. Okay, first thing, just like Rafa does, weekend talk.
We can talk, trying to remember. Friday, I actually, it was my sister-in-law's birthday. She turned 19. She came into town from New York with her boyfriend. We hung out and had some swordfish. It was great. It was a great night. And then Saturday, it was my birthday. I turned 31.
Happy birthday
Thank
to you.
Thanks, guys. So I had a few drinks in my house. I kind of decided last minute to do something. As I get older, I don't want to party it up and go to South Beach or anything. So I like to lay low on the key.
Okay.
But yeah, I just hung out with a few friends, had a few drinks, and Sunday was Sunday fun day. Just hang out on the key and enjoy the beautiful breeze.
You feel good that you're in your early 30s right now?
Yeah, I'm excited. I feel good. It's not like when you're early 20s, you're figuring out life. I feel good. I'm happy. Hey.
I feel like I spent my whole 20s backstepping from 30 not wanting to get there. And then once you get to 30, you're happier in your early 30s.
Yeah, definitely very happy. I think the 30, hitting the 30 mark.
Want to chime in?
Fuck you.
My weekend was wonderful.
Is that?
All right, well,
I'm enjoying my early 60s, and I got to spend the weekend with my dad in his early 90s.
That's great.
Awesome.
We had a great time.
That's great.
He's a Rat Radio listener, you were telling me.
I introduced him to Rat Radio this afternoon. We were driving around and playing tunes.
And Gannon, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, I'll need your help on this one. You can tell your side of it. Me and the Yale clan went to West Virginia.
Nice.
For Easter weekend. I wasn't originally going to go just because, I had work and, I guess I just didn't really want to go out of my way, to be honest. And my sister called me with the guilt trip of all guilt trips. She said, my kids aren't going to know who you are anymore. That's what she told me. She laid that on.
True.
Yeah, you know,
She did a good thing.
Yeah, she did.
Because it's something that was
Yeah.
probably wonderful,
She did.
and you'll remember, and the kids will remember it.
No, it was a really great time. We went to Procol,
As they're
West
saying,
Virginia.
who's there? And today they're asking your sister, who's Gannon?
Yeah, exactly. She got the job done. She apologized afterwards for the enormous guilt trip, but it got the job done. And we went to Paw Paw, West Virginia, population 600.
582.
582 is a pretty good time. And just like I do whenever I go to a new place, I plot a running route. And, you know, I just want to go for a nice run to explore the area and get some exercise. So I looked at a map on Google Maps, and it involved roads and paths and an abandoned railroad track. And I got like 2/3 of the way and just kind of got turned around. And a 30-minute jog turned into a 3.5-hour endeavor.
Lost in space?
I mean, I was lightly lost. I'll say I definitely did a lot of backtracking. And my phone was dying. And halfway, or not even halfway through, my phone was on like 3%. I sent out a text message to my dad, my mom, and my brother-in-law saying, very cryptic. It was like, don't worry, running out of battery. And that was it. And
No, it was worse than that. It was, I'll be home soon. And the next one was, running out of battery. So is that like a Lifetime movie thing or what? It's like, I got this thing, and then like 3 hours later, I'm like, holy shit. This is a Lifetime trip.
Having been lost in the woods overnight before, my only goal sending that was for you not to call 911. So I think I accomplished that.
No, actually, it achieved the opposite.
Well, it was 3.5 hours until I got back, and that was just beautiful, perfect weather, amazing place. Just good to switch up the scenery.
What did you guys do up there? Any activities?
It's pretty amazing. I had no idea. It's way up the Potomac. It's in West Virginia. You get a real feeling of wilderness up there because on one side, Maryland has made it all park. West Virginia, not so much, but and it's the river Oxbow's there, and
The river what?
Oxbows. It goes back and forth, like curves back and forth.
Yeah.
And that was like the pathway to get out west, or one of the pathways out west, and there was a race between the C&O canal to make a canal pathway and the B&O railway to make a railroad out there. And
Nice.
so you have the remnants of both of those, and it's pretty historically amazing, and they're both kind of abandoned now. So you walk through this kind of 100-year-old history of what was. It's pretty cool.
Have you guys been there before?
No, I've been on the C&O further towards D.C. because the C&O goes from Chesapeake, Ohio, is what C&O stands for, and the B&O stands for Baltimore and Ohio, and it's to get to the Ohio River and get to the Chesapeake is the idea.
All right. Well, it was a good time. You talked about the tunnel.
The Paw Paw Tunnel.
The Paw Paw Tunnel.
I don't know if I told you that your mom and I went through the Paw Paw Tunnel.
I saw the pictures.
And
Is that what you call it?
Salted.
That's what we call it now. But anyway, we got halfway through.
I can remember your wife, and I wanted to go into the Paw Paw Tunnel too.
We got halfway through the Paw Paw Tunnel, and freak out incurred. Because it's pitch. I mean, it is a 3/4 of a mile tunnel built through rock, no lights.
A car tunnel?
No, it was made for mules to run on the side of it and drag a barge through it. There's no light in it. You look on the other side, talk about the far side of the tunnel, and you see a little light. And they built this thing. It took them 14 years.
Wow.
And they dragged barges through this thing. And when you get in the middle of it, it's pitch
So through the
dark.
Appalachians.
No, it's in the foothills of West Virginia. So I don't know. Maybe those are the Appalachians. I guess they are. Yeah. But it's amazing.
Where does the name Paw Paw come from?
Yeah, because along the banks of Potomac, especially there, the pawpaw tree, which is a tree that has fruit, which is very good fruit, and the Indians and everybody else is fed on is rampant. So the names pop up.
Very interesting.
All right, well, that'll conclude weekend talk. I'm moving on to announcements. I don't think this is a new sector here, but Islander News, under new management, has an open house on April 7th from 5:30 to 7:30 at Archie's, which kind of doesn't make it an open house at all. But I guess it's to meet the new staff and be comfortable with the new corporate overlords of our local newspaper. And it sounds pretty good. I think there'll be free pizza there, so check that out. And then moving on to some stuff a little bit more relevant to us, the Key Rat Ultimate Summer Tournament, or Crust.
It is called Crust. It is called Crust.
Run that by one
You
more
haven't heard
time.
about the Krusty Cup?
No, they give me that crust again.
Okay. Crust. Key Rat Ultimate Summer Tournament.
Okay.
Crust is the acronym we're using. So it's just Crust. Crust tourney is a little bit redundant, but it starts on April 10th. The draft has already taken place. We're talking about it on the car ride over here.
The boat ride.
Right, the boat ride. Right.
We are broadcasting from the Jizzy, just outside the old ski dock in the Manx.
So we had the draft. You didn't make it to the draft, right, Mark?
I could not get. I was sick that night, but I did see the draft board the next day when Matt emailed it to me, and I was really disappointed because it appeared that I was the last person drafted.
Right, but you weren't.
Yahoo!
I thought about when we put out the roster to mix it up just to not hurt anybody's ego. That's kind of the fun of it, to see where you go rise and fall throughout the years.
But I do know that I am the oldest person drafted.
Definitely. Yes, you are.
I think the other past 50 guys would just be Brad Newsom, who went in the first round, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
That young guy is over 50?
Oh, no, I spilled the beans on that one.
He's not going to be happy with that.
He's good, though.
He's great.
For 30 years.
Are him and his wife playing together?
No, they got drafted to different teams. Brigitte is very good as well. They met playing Frisbee, and they've both been playing, combined over a half century, I'm sure.
I have a great Brigitte
well, it's true.
Ultimate Frisbee story. The first time I played Ultimate was at the Catholic Church field, and I was told to cover Brigitte, and I kind of kicked her ass that night.
Okay.
And I covered her. I was catching discs. I was able to throw. She couldn't cover me. And then 2 weeks later, I went back out, and she kicked my ass. And I go, what happened? She said, well, when we played the last time, I had just given birth to my third kid.
Wow.
Yeah, when I first met Brad and Brigitte, well, let me back up a little bit. The reason they found out about Kira Ultimate Frisbee was I endorsed Theo Holloway for council when he was running by writing a letter to the Islander that he prompted me to do. And I said what a great guy he was. And
You don't think so?
No, he was.
Was it the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I mean, it was all I said in the letter was, which was a true story, is I twisted my ankle when I first met him, and he ran to the 7-Eleven and got a bag of ice and brought it back, and nobody else did that, so I thought that was pretty cool. So I wrote that in the Islander, and Brad and Brigitte read the Islander, and we didn't know them at the time, and they read that and they saw that there was Frisbee happening, which is their life's calling, and they came up to check it out, and that was it. It was like 5 years ago now.
Okay. I didn't realize that connection.
Hey, how long has Crust been around?
That was a trivia question a few weeks ago. And if you have an answer to that, we'll throw that one in as a bonus. It's 305-321-9571.
We'll give you a beer.
I'll say it was the better part of a decade that Crust has been around. But this is the first year I'm actually calling it Crust. Okay, so that starts on April 10th. As a part of under the umbrella of the newly formed Calusa Club, by the way, which is something we'll talk about in a little bit.
Just to be clear, the Crust is cornhole.
No,
it's Ultimate Frisbee.
Oh, it's
Ultimate Summer Tournament.
Okay. Now, what about the?
Okay, so another event that the Calusa Club is putting on is the Cornhole Tournament, which happened last year. I think it was in May last time.
Yeah, it was.
We're doing it in June, and it's going to be at the Beach Club. It's already booked. And last year, I think we capped it at 20 teams.
Something like that.
Expand that. And it was a good time. So June 3rd, it's a Friday. Mark your calendar for that one.
Cornhole Classic.
Let's talk about the Calusa Club a little bit.
Well, Calusa Club is a non-profit organization on Key Biscayne, formed by 7 people. And basically we do community events, we do amateur sport leagues, and we're sort of a social club. So we're here for the community. So that's basically what Calusa Club is. And we do these events year-round, and that's why you're going to be hearing a lot about it on the radio.
Yeah, this is the first year that, because I started I don't want to give it away, but I started the Key Out Ultimate Summer Tournament a while ago, and I used to just collect cash from everybody, and there was no real accountability. I mean, I spent it all towards good causes, of course, but it's nice to have like a club that people pay towards, which also does charitable things.
Yes, we do. What are we doing?
So, on April 9th, next weekend, I'm climbing to the top of Biscayne 1 Tower in full firefighting gear. That's 50 pounds of gear. It's a 40-story building, which is a little bit less than last year, but it'll still be a challenge. And the Calusa Club is donating $200 to that cause. It's the American Lung Association. So,
Where is that money going to?
the American Lung Association.
Okay. Is there a website that other people can donate to on your behalf?
It's on the we put it on the Calusa Club Facebook page, and I can send you the link. I'm required as a participant to raise $250. I think I'll be at like 300 something after.
All you listeners or no one listening, whoever no one listening is,
or if you want
go to that page and donate some money because it's for a good cause.
So what we do is we donate for you running up.
Yeah, it's one of those things where support
but we
me
can
in
click
my
on
battle.
we can click on your name or
Yeah, you donate directly to my page. I'll send you the link.
okay.
Yeah, the website's action.lung.org, and you can find it there.
Basically, last year it was at the Wells Fargo building. I think it was 48 stories that time, and it was great. You put on all your gear, you climb to the top, and there was an unrented whole floor that was unleased. So it was just an open view of 360 to view, just with the elevator shaft in the middle. And you show up there, the Heat dancers were there, that crazy Heat mascot Burnout or whatever his name is.
Burnout
was there. And I got pictures, and there was food. It was a good time.
Do you rescue a damsel in distress?
No, you just carry all this stuff to the top, and then they give you some water.
Gman, how heavy is everything that you carry? How heavy is the gear?
So firefighting gear consists of the bunker gear, which is the usually yellowish gear that you see firefighters wearing. That's 25 pounds, okay, plus the helmet. Then there's the SCBA, the self-contained breathing apparatus. That's another 25 pounds. The tank that you see firefighters carrying, so it's 50 pounds in total. It's very well distributed on your body, but you can't sweat it all. It doesn't help.
G-Man, is this a race?
It's a race. You get ranked. My one beef with it last year was you're allowed to do it in full firefighting gear, or you can just do it in sneakers and shorts, and they put everybody on the same list. So if you do it in full bunker gear like I am, you get ranked just with everybody else, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, I mean, that's why I do it. I compete with the guys I work with and other departments and stuff. I thought it was fun last year, so I'm doing it again.
G-Man, is there a possibility that, if you do win, do you get into the calendar? The firefighter calendar?
No. I'm not willing to do what it takes to be in the calendar.
He's got to do a little more pump and iron.
To do to be in the firefighter calendar in South Florida. Maybe in like Wyoming it's different, but here you have to be,
You have to be stacked.
You have to be on something. Let's put it that way. All right. So we talked about the Calusa Club.
What about, let's go back to Cornhole.
Cornhole, you want to talk more about that?
Well, my buddy Alberto always said, in playing cornhole, nothing better than coming in from behind.
Right. Of course.
Where'd you get that? So how many teams are we expecting for the Cornhole Classic
Can you
here?
expand on that, Mark?
So, G-Man, how many teams do you think we'll be having this year?
Last year was 20, and I had to set a cap on that. You remember?
Yeah,
And it's always the same with the Frisbee tournament. When I open registration for that, it's slow, and then it gets to a good pace, and then you close it, and then like 10 teams.
The cornhole is, we're on a time frame because we have to end all activities at the beach club by 12 o'clock. So it looked like it was going to be tight for a while.
Well, it was tight last year, and I won't get into too many details about it, but we came right up against the midnight last year, and it was me and Travis. I wouldn't say we came from behind, but we did lose a game, and we were playing against a team that went undefeated.
I recall you and another person on a team got really close to some physical altercation.
Well,
And I was hoping someone would clock that guy.
Well, to not get into it, basically what happened was it was a double elimination tournament, so everybody was entitled to lose one game, right? And we got into a best-of-3 series for the championship, which I assume that because we're head-to-head we're in second place, they're in first place. And because we were doing a best-of-3 championship, I figured that was it. And we were coming against midnight, we had to leave. We absolutely had to leave at midnight. And once it started to look like they might not win that best-of-3, it was brought up that, hey, this is a double elimination, and this is you only beating us once if you win this best-of-3. So we were going to have to play at least one more best-of-3 for you to beat us. If not, then we're going to have to play another one. And basically, as a guy who was running the whole thing, but also a competitor, I ran into a conflict of interest that I have with the Frisbee tournament many times. We have to leave at midnight. Let's just be a good sport and let's do it this way, But
be a good sport.
And
you were pissed off.
Let me just interject.
Like Johnny Piss
Let
Off.
me say, you are a competitor and you're running the tournament, and yeah, I won. That's how I resolved that issue.
He didn't win. He was a runner-up.
No, we lost.
Gman was a runner-up.
They won the first of the best-of-3. We won the second of the best-of-3. And then we went into the last game, and that's when this, minor altercation.
Who was your
down.
partner?
Travis, who is my partner again this year. I've already pre-contracted him.
So, Mark, are we partners?
Yeah, Mark and Mark are partners.
We're gonna
kick the pups' asses.
Let's kick the pups' asses.
In any case, maybe we can.
I'm going to get him down. We're going to practice.
That was not the only problem with the rules, and I'll just say it was from the same team that had a problem with the rules at another point in the night. So I guess I'll be a little bit clearer next time about the letter of the law going into it. At least I learned my lesson. But it's all about being a good sport, and it's about having a good time.
Will the first rounds of this next tournament start earlier?
They should, because and that was the reason we had to cap it before, was because we looked at how many games we're going to have to play to whittle it down from 20 to 1, and we did the math, and we're like, we cannot have more people playing, but maybe we'll start earlier. But it's Friday, so keep in mind, people are coming off work and stuff like that. All right, let's move on to Talk of the Town, Rafa's favorite category. Do you guys have any interest in talking about this dog park? Because I don't, but we need to fill some time.
I think it's full of dog poop.
Woof.
Many dollars worth of dog poop.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Well, I'll give you the skinny on it that I read on the Islander. They got approval for it, but of course there's a petition to repeal the approval. They need 625 signatures, which is 10% of the voting population of Key Biscayne. They have 550, and it's $809,000 to build this thing. And unless they get the signatures to have the appeal, that's going to happen.
How much is that per dog?
It's about what?
That's what I want to know. I think it's about $30,000 per dog.
Mark, that's a very good question.
But it's not. When we got into this the other night, they said it's not about the dogs. It's about the people. It's a people park.
It is a people park. In theory, it is. You all come around for happy hour, the dogs, and it's a community thing.
We were all about it, and we all agreed that the dog park is
I don't know
probably
if
a
you're
good
allowed
idea.
to say, but I heard the people like it doggy style.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're going to name the park.
Doggy style park.
That's what the compromise is.
That'll get a lot more dollars.
Yeah, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and we have some people on the show that are very much in support of it, but I think some of us were just wondering about the nearly $1 million price tag for a dog park, and that didn't really get addressed. It just got addressed. We need a dog park, but nobody ever talked about why it costs
I did
a dog park.
sign the online petition,
You did.
but I heard that I read in the Islander that the attorney for the village said that is not valid. It has to be written signature petition, and I don't know if there is a written signature petition circulating.
So the person that made that petition, if you're listening, understand that it has to be written.
Right. Yeah. I mean, according to the Islander, it was $550. I'm sure they'll get the minimum that they need. Anyways, I don't have too much more stuff, so I wish you to expand on that. But we can talk about the Miami Open. You guys been yet?
No.
Nobody?
I've had offers. I've had tickets. I've been invited, and I'm not excited about it as I used to be in the 80s.
Yeah.
When after watching it, I'd go back and do a pro shot.
Yeah, I got invited by one of our panel members yesterday, Anna. I wanted to thank her because her father offered the tickets to me and my wife. We couldn't make it, but we missed a good match. Thank you, Anna.
So the big rabble on the key was not about the tournament itself, but about the traffic it generates. And to me, I think there's too much focus on one-time events like that. Yes, it is an inconvenience, but the bigger problem is all the other stuff happening on the key that's more permanent, causing rush hour traffic like I've never seen before out here. I can deal with it for a week or two.
Yeah, I don't think the traffic was bad at all. The only thing that I could complain or rant about is just that, you have a lot of tourists that come and they have no idea how to drive. But besides that, I mean, the traffic is not a big deal. I think people just like to make a big deal, a big fuss about stuff that doesn't really affect anybody.
All right, well, this year the Miami Open is expecting 17,000 fans in one day at its peak. The day session starts at 11 a.m. and can run as long as the sessions last. I was talking to Bill Rooks, owner of Island Athletics today, and he said he went for the night session last night, and he was waiting until 10 o'clock for the night session to start because the day session was taking too long. The night session is supposed to start at 8 p.m. So just keep in mind if you're driving off the key or onto the key, certain times are going to be terrible. If the day session starts at 11 a.m., probably around 7, 8, the traffic's going to be terrible. Night session starts at 8, probably around 10, it's going to be horrible traffic. There's a free shuttle that stops at local bus stops every 20 minutes. I find that kind of hard to believe, but it's possible. I
believe it.
So if you want to go up there and you don't want to drive, definitely don't drive if you're on the key. Catch the shuttle. It's a van. It says Key Biscayne on it. It'll be pretty obvious to stay at any bus stop. I kind of doubt you've ever been at a bus stop before if you live on the key, but you might know where they are.
Just ask any maid.
Yeah, that's where they hang out. We put those benches there for them so you can enjoy those. All right, the other thing is the Tainer Flats. I read that the Mashta Flats have now officially been designated the Tainer Flats by Key Biscayne, which doesn't necessarily refer to the entire flat. I think it more refers to the beginning part of it, which is in Key Biscayne's jurisdiction, which, as you'll see, is the part that has been designated a no motorboat zone, which I understand was Jim Tainer's pet cause to make our jurisdiction no motorboat zone as a first step to cleaning up that flat a little bit. And they went on the article talking about Tainer himself was not very much in support of naming stuff willy-nilly, as he put it, after people, but they justified it, said, this is his pet cause and we want to remember him, so we're going to name it the Tainer Flats. And that was that. And his widow, his kids were all about it. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm not really happy that I can't cut that flat anymore, but there it is.
Well, your grandmother was very much involved with trying to keep that flat grass flats and not turning it into sand. And she was very worried about it 50 years ago.
I look at it as unfortunate that Jim's real goal was to protect the entire Mashta Flat from the tip of Mashta Point all the way out to the marker and keep the boats off and keep the anchors off the bottom, which are destroying the seagrasses and the prop scars and everything else that's going on there every weekend when 200 or 300 boats anchor out there.
Yeah, we talked about this on the show before. It's not in Key Biscayne's jurisdiction. Key Biscayne police don't have any authority to enforce many laws out there. And the authorities that are out there have a much wider area to worry about, so they're not concerned with booting people off of that flat. Would you agree that's the main problem?
That, when the authorities go out there, I think they're going to look at transoms moving to the music. I say the rear ends of certain vessels.
Right.
Yeah, true enough, but I guess, there was another drowning last week off there.
Yeah, it was. It was really bad. It was sad they actually found the body. I think it was today or yesterday. Again, people have to remind themselves it is dangerous. If you're inexperienced, you will get hurt, and if you don't know what you're doing. So, it's not the first time somebody's died off that flat.
I will say, though, that wasn't a part not that it really matters that much, but that wasn't a part of any kind of boat party. That was just New Yorkers, inexperienced boaters running boats, overloading them, and
New Yorker libel.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's not really linked to the outrageous parties that we're about to see, because it hasn't happened yet. This weekend's probably going to be the first weekend where it's going to be annoyingly bad out there.
What Jim wanted to do was protect an amazing ecological area in Biscayne Bay that has grown sea pins, which don't exist anymore out there. Remember the sea pins? If you walk the flats, they'd slice your body. The lobster, the bonefish, the tarpon, all kinds of sea life.
What is a sea pin?
A sea pin is an organism that is shell-like, and it's wider at the top, maybe 4 or 5 inches at the top, and it's triangular, and it would grow out of the ground. It would be stuck into the sand and be up at the top, and if you stepped on one, it'd slice your foot.
Well, you had sea pens and you had sea urchins, so it was like a minefield out there. But the funny thing is that,
and there were horseshoe crabs.
And there was horseshoe crabs out there. So, and there was stingrays. So it was an unlikely alliance between Gene Yaley and Frank Aldrich, because Frank Aldrich didn't want anything built out there, and that flat, trying to save that flat. And it has become a sandbar when it was.
I think to me the main problem is the huge population of Miami is going to party somewhere, and I think the authorities that control that area might as well. They have no concern to move it somewhere else because they know it's going to happen somewhere. So why should they care, right? I don't agree with it, but I think that's the way it is. And now it's.
I guess just for safety reason, but it's amazing that when the wind is blowing from the west on Sunday afternoon at my house, which is on Warren Lane,
right,
quarter mile from the bay, I can hear the bass of the music.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And at times I even hear the treble carries. It's similar to back in the old days when you hear the lions and elephants roar in the morning from the Crandon Park Zoo. If the atmospheric conditions were proper and the wind was just flowing.
I'm sure you've taken a voyeuristic putt-putt by that area. And there's like... there's like 5 to 10... very loud stereos playing different music. I don't know how people take it out there. It's cacophonous, if that's a word. It's bad. Man, I can't stand it. I don't like it. Rafa, the usual host of the show, his idea is to have a boat out there with just a, sound warfare. Play an extremely annoying sound and just play it in the direction. You don't think that'll work?
No, this annoying sound they'll dance to.
Possibly. That will probably happen.
Just be like,
I thought
this is great.
One of these Army surplus and point it right out there, and people would probably just attack the boat is what would happen. But it's an effective sound.
my thought was that the purchasers of Mashta Point on the house for $47 million would put up some sort of an audible
Bose system.
Yeah, an audible defense system to knock these people out in order to enjoy the beautiful weekends that they have with a 360-degree view of the city of Miami and Biscayne Bay. And 200 boats blasting stereos 200 yards from their front door.
This brings me to another story that was brought to my attention. It was in the New Times recently. And it was about, obviously, the New Times is very sensationalistic. And I don't want to say what their leanings are, but it's pretty obvious when you read the paper. And it was about the rich people who live, I believe this was over Miami Beach area.
Yeah, like around Star Island and stuff like that.
And they were having problems with, for lack of a more PC term, bum boaters that were just anchoring off of their $10 million estates in the back. And this one guy who has a multi-million-dollar estate, supposedly, has taken all types of measures to try to get these people out of anchoring from the back of his house. He's anchored all these faux sailboats behind there to try to occupy the space. He yells at them, and all the sailboaters know him, supposedly, and it just ignited this whole debate of what are we to do about these boaters who don't pay taxes. They bring down our property values, and they ruin our view, and it was just a battle between those two elements.
I saw that and I was reminded of your grandmother's house
Yeah.
and her neighbor. Which,
I was just thinking about that neighbor when you came up to Campbell's Beach.
yeah, and he did all the same stuff. I mean, he was.
What was his name?
What was his name?
He was an ornery son of a bitch.
Oh, the
He
guy
would-
with the shotgun.
Yeah, and he would chase me off the beach. Franklin. And he would chase us. He'd chase the kids off the beach. He'd chase us off the beach. And it's like, fuck you. It's our beach, you know? And
He had
we're coming
Buddy Austin's son, arrested.
And Buddy Austin was son
first
of the-
Commodore of the Yacht Club.
He
lived
fought
across
him.
the street from
And,
the beach.
You know, I got into a shouting match with him in front of my kids. I mean, the whole thing would come in, and it's like, no, it's not your beach. You know? And so,
Yeah.
and that's what's going on.
I mean, from the New Times perspective, you see that they kind of side with the boaters. They have like a wide spectrum of them. Some of them are
Let me just
Canada.
give a quick description to our audience that right outside the window of the Jizzy is a beautiful osprey flying about 20 feet from our window. Earlier this
Majestic
evening,
osprey, about 3 feet in wingspan. And it seems to be hunting
It might be actually a turkey.
a turkey vulture.
no, that is not.
That's not.
Earlier this evening, we saw some.
I actually find the turkey vulture quite majestic.
If you haven't been here earlier this evening, Mark and I were looking at what was going on in the water, and a manatee was swimming by at low tide and stirring up the bottom, and we could see his trail as the manatee went by. It's quite an amazing place. We're all blessed to be here at the mangroves.
It is, and I think what prevents people from being in places such as this is the access to land, and that's where you get the concentration of liveaboards.
He's hitting.
I'm going to take a video of this and post it on my Facebook page for the listeners to watch.
Anyways, so the basic gist of the article was, I mean, the New Times always wants to paint some kind of narrative to make it interesting reading. I understand that, but it was rich codger against homegrown, with the earth guy who lives on a sailboat. And I get that, but at the same time, I mean, it's a real problem. If you have people that are just anchoring all over the place and right off the back of your multi-million-dollar state, I mean, how would you feel about that? And they're not always the most savory characters. The Grove has had this problem for a long time, and they're one of the few places in Miami that actually tolerate this.
Yeah, they do.
If you don't know, Scotty's Landing, which still exists, but maybe not for long, it does. And it is one of the few places that just, I don't know why, but they tolerate random people coming in on dinghies, and they have dinghy access there. That's not common in Miami. And that's the one thing that restricts you from anchoring wherever you want. Because obviously if you're in Miami Beach, you can't just land on somebody's $1 million estate. It just doesn't work that way. So it's a real problem. It's a problem that not just Cuba skin faces, and I thought that was pretty relevant. It's worth
Donald Trump.
And we got Donald Trump in the studio. Oh, the one thing I want to add to that is our council member Theodore Holloway was spotted on some kind of Facebook page.
Yes.
I don't have Facebook. But
I get Theo.
the screenshot was given to me, and this whole debate was raging on, and sailboaters were chiming in about this New Times article. And Theo says, liveaboards don't pay taxes, therefore they shouldn't be able to vote and shouldn't have a say. And he got torn apart.
Yeah, torn apart.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
Well, it just like when I was growing up, there was enough space so that you wouldn't have this tension. I mean, it didn't matter that liveaboards didn't pay taxes. Right. It didn't matter that they lived for free because there was enough space.
Right.
So the tension didn't exist. But when you get multi-million-dollar properties, and when you pay $5 million for your view, and there's a bum boater off of there, then the tension exists.
Right. I think there's a lot of laws that we've lived with for a while that, because we haven't come up against it yet, they've just remained kind of loose. And I sympathize with the the guy who doesn't want the people off the back of his house. And to be honest, that
and I sympathize with the guy that lives off the back of his house.
I do as well.
That's where that's who I come down on the side of.
I do as well, but this guy, the guy they were not demonizing, but kind of painting as the grouchy guy, he made a good point. He said, "How would you feel if somebody showed up in a trailer, right up in your front yard there?"
I feel like shit. I understand exactly how he's feeling. But also, I'm sort of like, fuck you.
I think that sums it up pretty well. Okay, well, I think we talked about that subject enough. This is where we restate the trivia question. You guys remember what it was? The 5 S's of keeping lobstering. Anybody, please call in. We're dying to give away the prize that's been sitting on the shelf for a decade now. Nobody has ever answered it.
Nobody's ever called, really.
We've had calls, but nobody has ever correctly answered.
Why would anyone call if this is the show that no one listens to?
They do all the time. What are you talking about?
Rose Haney called once because her son was on the radio. When Bobby was here, she called in.
Well, maybe we make the show for posterity. I don't know. It's the 5 S's. Uh-oh. Here we go.
Actually, we are getting a call.
Yeah, we have a call. All right, hold on a second. I'm going to figure out this.
Oh, this is exciting. Somebody's finally calling.
Hello, listener. You're on the air. It's the No One's Listening show, but go ahead. The 5 S's of key rat lobstering. Illegal S's. There's a beer on the line here, sir. Season. Okay, hold on. That is one. We'll accept that. Spear. Okay,
right.
That's two. That's 2, listener. You're on your way to Cold Budweiser. Short is 1. That's 3 out of 5. Ooh, we're gonna have to put this one to the judges.
I go with that.
All right, we had split, but separation will pass. Okay. Just one more S. There's at least 7 of them. Sanctuary. We have a winner.
We have a winner.
All right.
Who is this caller?
Caller, who can we send the free beer to? Is this Trump? Oh, yeah. Right. I know how you feel.
That's your...
All right.
I know who this culprit is. This is the guy who was busted for all those S's.
Oh, yeah. Him and Crawdaddy Art. Oh, he's gone. All right, well.
Finally, we can give a beer to somebody.
Yes, thankfully he's...
Hey, Mark, come on in.
Well, he got the 5 S's. He got Season. He got Sanctuary. He got Short. He got Spear. I had split down on the paper, but he had Separation. For those of you who don't know.
The other is Stamp.
Ooh.
No lobster stamp.
Damn. Wow, 7. 6. Okay, so Season would be... Season, obviously.
And Short.
Short would be carapace length, not to the minimum. Spear would be shooting it with a 3-prong. Split, I had down here, but he said Separation, which is...
Mark, you want your beer now?
Twisting the lobster off and bringing it back to the dock in 2 pieces. And Sanctuary, of course, is referring to taking lobster within the Biscayne National Park Lobster Sanctuary. So,
Thank you.
good. Thank you. So I guess he gets a free beer.
Mr. Yaley?
Yeah. But no.
Not bad.
Don't mention
I'm not saying which Yaley, but Mr. Yaley. What was the best? Which was the best find you ever had in the sanctuary?
Best find? Oh, it was the lockers. The locker, of course.
I was there when we pulled them up in Larry's boat, and it sounded like snare drums.
Yeah.
Because there were about 100 lobsters in there.
Yeah. We took 70, and not quite so short.
Oh. Yeah.
Snare drum, 70 lobster, keepers.
Wasn't that a little more than is allowed per boat?
What's the
Oh, wait a
too
minute.
many?
Oh, 60. 60. Wait a minute. No, I'm confused. I'm sorry.
Six?
Six.
And who was the officer who busted you?
You didn't know that, Mark.
That was the officer who let me off when I went by his car at 1 in the morning at 80 miles an hour just past the marina coming onto the quay. And when I illuminated the Florida officer sign on the side of his car, I thought I should just slow down and pull over. And this was after I went to court for Mr. Yaley. And he said, "Mark, what are you doing here? Don't drive so fast and go home." So thank you, Mark, for paying for me to get off.
No. The whole conversation, I think, was, like, don't you represent the assholes who call their officer? It's like, yeah, and I think he's an asshole, too. Yeah. So why don't we fuck him? And yeah.
Oh, you're $30 deep in obscenity fines on Rap Radio here.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. You can donate to the Calusa Club. It's a charitable foundation.
I will definitely do that.
Where is the Calusa Club charitable money going to? Who are the benefactors?
So, as we mentioned earlier, so one night at your house, Mark, it was me, your son, Christopher Colt, and
Derek
Weaver and Rafa were there. And I said, because there was a lot of things. I was already doing the Frisbee tournament and other stuff where I would have to collect money from people. And I said, we should form a club where we do this stuff together, spread out the duties a little bit, and make a non-profit out of it. And that's where it was born out of. And since then, we have meetings probably on average once a month, to be honest.
Definitely once a month.
And it's, hold on, I'll get them all. It's me, it's Chris, it's Derek, Grant, Griff, Rafa, and who am I missing here?
Matt
Freedom. And we all meet semi-regularly, and we talk about what our next event should be and how we should allocate the funds. And we set up a bank account and become a legitimate nonprofit. And since then, I've set up the Frisbee tournament, the Cornhole tournament, the scavenger hunt. What other stuff have we done?
Oh, nothing else, but we should have more events down the road.
The scavenger hunt was...
That was Rafa's.
That was A+. Yeah. What an event.
Yeah. That was Rafa. Rafa did that a long time ago. And that was... we sat down at one meeting, I said, everybody has to have their pet project here. And some people chose getting nonprofit status, such as Griff over here, which is a big deal. Other people, such as Rafa, chose an event, put on the scavenger hunt, and that was a big deal. And that was our best event thus far.
Yeah.
Our first event was the Cornhole tournament, and
which was the best event at that time.
It was good, but we stupidly gave away all the money and prize money, which was just was a blunder. We're not going to do that again.
One thing that we've noticed this show today is that the majority of the panel members are away on vacation or business trip. And there's a part of the segment that we haven't spoken about, but I'm going to bring it up. And it's, what are you listening to?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that, Griff.
Hey, no worries. That's why I'm here. We co-host. So I'm going to start off. This week I've been listening to a band that I've mentioned before, and it's called Baby Huey, and it's Runnin'. And it's a funk band from the 70s, and that's what I've been listening to this week.
Baby Huey?
Baby Huey.
I'm going to listen to that tomorrow.
Check that out.
Because today, for whatever reason, when I was at work, I went to YouTube Music and I listened to an album of the Dave Clark Five, being one of the lovers of the British invasion. And then after the Dave Clark Five played, it came to some great British blues, which I always enjoy.
So Dave Clark 5 in general?
Dave Clark 5 outsold the Beatles in the 60s. They were more popular in UK than the Beatles were in 64 to probably 60. I don't know. I'll be talking out my ass if I tell you the years. But for a time, they were more popular than the Beatles.
Well, I've taken you to some weird places like Rashid Taha. Now I'm going to go back to the classics. Buffalo Springfield.
Ooh, that's a great one.
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth. Very good.
Excellent.
Their most known song.
That's their most known
For
song.
what it's worth.
Yes.
For what it's worth. And how's that go, Mark? Do you remember?
You don't want to hear me sing. It would be it'd break the it'd break the tubes on the radio.
Going down?
Yeah, okay. But anyway, the interesting thing about that is that Stephen
Stills and Neil Young were in the Buffalo Springfield.
and
David Crosby had Birds. Gordon Nash was in the Hollies. Of course, they went on to Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Great band.
But
so you should put
a Buffalo Springfield on because that has some roots to it.
Awesome.
Dan, what have you been listening to?
It's not something I've been listening to. It just I remember probably 10 years ago, the late Scott Kunkel called me up when we were running Rat Radio out of my late grandmother, Jean Yeley, who we were discussing earlier, house. That's where the Rat Radio was for a solid year. And he said, Gannon, you need to play Procol Harum. And it's a song we've all heard before, but I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. But of course I put it on the radio. It's not on the radio now, so it will be. So that's my request to myself, and it's all noted.
And if you haven't listened to that song, go on to YouTube Music and listen to it because it's a wonderful song. And their albums are good, but it was the Lighter Pay Shale that got 99% of the airtime of any Procol Harum song.
Right. It was covered by every band that you could think of. But they also, Procol Harum also did Salty Dog, which actually is my favorite.
All right.
Well, this is the No One's Listening show. It's March 30th, and I guess the one last thing I want to add today was my experience today I hit up 3 Key Biscayne institutions today. First I went to the Donut Gallery and got my pancakes and bacon.
Paid out the ass for it.
Was there?
I mean,
Was there there?
it was with tip I paid $12 for pancakes.
That's right. It's kind of expensive.
If you've ever been to the Bahamas, I guess it brings it back to reality.
Just a little less than the Ritz, but good.
Anyway, whatever.
Better than the rent.
I'm putting into life here on Key Biscayne establishments. So I went there, and then I went to Island Athletics and saw the new Island Athletics, which has been sold. I'm sure you've been informed.
No.
Oh, well. It's a long story. Maybe we don't want to get into it at this point. But
Bill Rooks is retired.
Yeah. Basically, in a nutshell, somebody wanted to open up a tennis store on the Key. Opened up a tennis store. Went as far as opening up the actual store. Then realized that Bill had all the exclusive contracts for the island for all the retailers that they wanted. And realized that they needed to buy him out. Negotiations ensued. They bought him out. And now Island Athletics is a subsidiary of the port.
Does Derek still work there?
Derek still works there. Bill is still on for, he told me today, at least a month. But the deal is done. The employees wear uniforms now. You walk in there and it's
Are they tennis?
Yes, it looks like Derek today looked like he was ready to hit the court.
It was funny. I was listening to WQAM and the DJs, the people talking, were saying, when you go to the tennis tournament, you see those people who are dressed up like they're going to play, and they're just the spectators, and they can't play worth a damn. They're
It's funny you mentioned that.
3.0 players.
So I went in there, and that's usually, after I have Donut Gallery, I go in there and just, say what's up. And I like the small town feel of it, but you can just see that things have changed. That now the court there was like these mister things introducing incense into the air, and they're requiring the employees to wear these uniforms, dry fit shirts saying the court. And wear sneakers like as if they're ready to go hit.
Have they changed the name of the store?
Not yet, but slowly but surely that's going to be the thing. Bill's still there, but
what's interesting is Mark and I were there when Scott was considering opening up a store on Key Biscayne, and with Greg Morris, and everyone was, it isn't going to work. And when Bill and Scott worked 120 hours a week each, after about a year and a half, boy, did it take off.
Yeah, because they really did.
That's great.
And it was cool to see Bill. I mean, obviously, he cashed out on it, whatever the next step in his life is. But at the same time, it was kind of sad to see a local-ish institution. The future of it is going to be like a lot of other places like Key Biscayne.
Not like the Jizzy. Jizzy forever.
But I don't know. I remember I went to the golf course out here, and I collected 1,200 golf balls in a trash can, and I exchanged those to Bill for a pair of Maui Jims. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Bill knew how to make a deal.
Yeah.
You got kind of screwed there, son. Sorry.
You know about Maui Jims? Maui Jims are like $300.
No, still.
Whatever, I got screwed over by Key Biscayne Institution.
He's a good businessman.
And then after I went there, I went to the Key Biscayne Beach Club, which I believe one of our panel members today is a member of the board there. Is that correct?
No,
Anymore?
history.
History. That's another spot. I just felt kind of. I like to go to the gym there, and it's quiet during the week, and it's nice, but you just see the writing on the walls that as well.
Is the house you live in a member of the beach club?
It is. I'm a legitimate member of the beach club.
Okay,
I
just checking.
that. Yeah. Oh man, narc
Just checking.
I'll be sure.
That cornhole tournament that you're going to is being signed under my name, so.
We are partners, right, Mark?
Yes, we are.
You're gonna come practice with me, right?
We can do it tonight.
We got a week.
We can do it tonight. We got the Gannon's cornhole set at my house.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it for us. If you guys have anything to add, I'll just reiterate.
Yeah, I have something to add. I'm really happy that Mark Yaley is here because he's one of my favorite people on the earth. That he comes and spends time with me, and he crashes at my house, and we can have this time every few weeks to bond and tell you people things that you really don't care about and you're not listening to, and tough shit anyway.
You could have used your brand of real-world knowledge last week because I guess I'll take this chance to give a shout-out to Rafa because he puts up with a lot on this show.
He definitely does.
There's weeks when we come out here and so many people show up and express so many uninformed opinions, and Rafa has to sit here and field all that, whereas I go for a swim around this, around the surroundings here
And get scared up by Tarpon.
Right. I mean, that happens, but sometimes when I see the show happening here, I think, I don't feel like being a part of that panel. And last week was one of those weeks, to be honest.
Yeah, another event coming up that's not Calusa Club, but is the Harry Tellum Memorial Tarpon Tournament, which is coming up. And Mark Yaley is going to be on my crew of Gale Force fishing team.
What day is that?
I don't recall, but
because I got to fly down here.
But Alberto Howdigi,
I'll be here,
will also be on my team. One of the best fishermen that exists. He had great eyes, but now has one great eye. Now he doesn't even have one great eye anymore. But he's fun as hell, and he still catches fish. He does. He's a fish attractor.
He's part of our crew?
He's our crew. He bought us the Gale Force outfits last year, even though he spelled Gale wrong, but I've asked him to get new equipment and spell it right.
Doing it right.
So, Bert, when you listen to this on the internet, remember you're still an asshole. But I love you.
Mark, do you have any dates for that tournament? Because I don't have them here.
I don't. We can post them next weekend. But that tournament is in memory of the great Harry Tellum, who was an amateur fisherman, but spent more hours fishing than any amateur that I ever knew, and probably more hours on the sea than a lot of professional fishermen.
I always remember seeing him there on our dock, which is the South Dock at Yacht Club, and he'd be there with his two what kind of dogs were those?
Shepherds.
Yeah,
Shepherds.
The Shepherds, and he was always just
Susan.
always just messing around with his fishing stuff. And he's a really nice guy. Him and Tanner, they really held that dock down.
Yeah, Harry was
Man, I was
wonderful.
on that dock too.
In 1963, when our family
they
moved,
treated me as a newcomer.
when we moved to our house on Harbor Court, the Tellums lived on Harbor Court, and I'd come home from school at 3 o'clock, change, and ride my bike to the center dock. And at that time, Harry Tellum had the 23-foot Almond named the Mighty Hunter, and Steve, Harry, and I would go out at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, work days. Harry was smarter than any other workman. He got off at 3 because he owned his own business, and we'd go catch sharks out in the Stillsville area. But in '63, Harry, Meathead, Steve, and I went out in the Mighty Hunter south of Fowey Rocks, and he caught a 300 and something pound blue marlin. And he put me on the bridge and said, run the boat. And I was seasick as hell, drank a Diet Pepsi, puked, and almost ripped his hand off when I hit the throttle, and he had a wrap around with the leader. And since then, I never had another Diet Pepsi. And notwithstanding, Harry did land that fish and is mounted on the house. But that, and I've got a great picture of us on the wood dock, center dock at the time, with the Craig's wood Darcy in the background. I can post a picture of that also on my Facebook, together with the picture of the osprey that I caught flying around.
It's a great story. Thank you for sharing.
All right, well, we're rounding up the show here. Let's just reiterate some of our announcements. We got the Hooky Rod Ultimate Summer Tournament, or Crust, starting on April 10th, which is next Sunday, not this Sunday, but the Sunday after that. And it's a round-robin tournament competing for the Krusty Cup, which, if you haven't seen it, it's glorious. It sits in the community center there. There's so many trophies that they've kind of obscured it, but it's the biggest, badass trophy in the whole box of Key Biscayne sports. It's ridiculous. I hope you guys understand that. It has the names of all the people who have won, and the guy who created it, his name is not on there yet, but maybe this will be his year.
Maybe.
Well, this year I stepped down as captain, and I entered the open draft, and hoping to get on Grant's team, but that didn't happen. But I think I still might have a chance. Whoa, it's a stink face.
Well, I'm just going to interject that. You don't want me to interject?
What?
No, that Mark and I are going to kick your ass.
We're talking about
Cornhole. Yeah, we don't care.
Cornhole's for the kids. Nobody cares about it.
It's drunken dad time.
Love coming in from behind.
Mark Allen.
This is the Mark hour.
Cornhole, love coming in from behind.
Let me just ask Mark.
All right, go ahead.
Bring the KY, Mark.
Let me ask the older Mark. Older Mark. How do you feel about the term one-speed freed? Because that's what we've been calling the freeds on the frisbee court these days. One-speed freed, yeah.
What does that mean?
I think it means, steady, not the best sprinters, but just consistent.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
that's a good name. Right.
I was thinking you're saying I'm the same speed as Matt, and I go, if that's the case, I'm really happy. I can't imagine I'm as fast as he is, but I'm working at it.
Speed freed, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, one-speed freed, the younger, has been drafted onto Grant's team 3 years in a row now, because Grant appreciates the consistency of the Freed family.
You know you're going to hurt yourself out there.
I haven't yet.
Yeah, you haven't yet.
Mark Freed's one of the better players. He's a sleeper pick.
I am one of the better 63-year-old players.
One of the better players, period.
63.
Well, I think today's show is
I will be 64 when the tournament starts.
I definitely think today's special, today we didn't have the panel, but we definitely had two great guests, and I wanted to thank both of you for coming. Definitely made the show a lot of fun. You guys always have great historical facts and stories, and definitely it's one for the books. Thanks again.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome, Griff.
Thanks for having us,
Another
Griff.
thing on the agenda here about talking about the show and what we want to do with it. I think you pretty much summed it up there, Griff. But I think sometimes the more the merrier isn't really true. But to have a well-placed guest is important. So I think
Well placed. What the hell is Mark Y doing here?
Mark Y is the best prank caller in my radio history.
The best.
Yeah. So I'll give you guys
some better stuff.
Appreciate you guys being out here, and we're glad we got the show done. So let's give a goodbye on 1, 2, 3.
Goodbye.
Good night, all.
1,
Good night.
2,
Good night.
3.
Good night, Keith.
Good night, guys.